Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. So what we're doing is, when in a shifted market, not shifting, shifted and shifting market, the agents who perfect and practice their skill sets are the ones who are going to win out. Right now, we're in a skill set based market. What that means is agents who got in 2020 or 2021, they were like, all right, here's some business here. Oh, you want to list your house for that price? That sounds great, right? So it's going to take extra skills. So over the month of December and all of December and even into New Year, what you're going to see on the calendar are, well, moving into the new year will be daily. Now we're kind of piecing things out because of holidays and everything else coming up. You're going to see skill set workshops. They're going to be 45-minute moments to tune into for that skill. Okay. So take note of the calendar. There's a bunch of different skill sets. There's actually 8 specifically that we're going to be putting on the calendar. And then we're going to rinse and repeat the same 8 and rinse and repeat the same 8 over and over and over again. So, because practice makes permanent. Today's skill set to kick things off is the psychology behind what we say. It's also known as language of sales, language patterns. There's so many different verbiage for what this is called. It all means the same thing, right? What are skills for our language that we need to use when we're talking to people to get us better results and what we want? For those just tuning in who haven't met us yet, or for people watching this recording later, my name is Alana Huber-Katz. I'm Director of Coaching and Business Development here at Keller Williams Legacy. And this is my favorite topic whatsoever, which is why I'm like, okay, I'm teaching this one. This is actually a topic I typically teach nationwide for money. So this is a topic I usually go and Zoom or travel and teach nationwide to huge teams. I taught to a team in New Orleans that has, they do about 1,000 units a year. 1,000 units a year. So this is the thing, we can talk all about how to write a contract, how to talk to buyers, how to get buyers, how to get sellers. But if we don't know what to say when we have the lead, what's our conversion going to be like, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to break down the conversation. Now, I will tell you this class typically is a good 4 to 6 hour class that I'm going to give you the basics of in 45 minutes. And then in a few weeks, you're going to see it on the calendar again for the next part of this, right? So it's going to be, here's the start of this conversation. Put it into play, use it in your conversations, right? Get used to it, practice it, and then come for the next part. Excuse me a second. All right. So I'm going to dive in here. The very first thing that I want to start with is our opener. There's the thing, I spend more time on an agent's opener than I do on anything else. Anyone want to take a guess why? Any guesses? First impression. Yep, first impression. How long do we have in our first impression? Anyone want to take a guess on how long we have? How many seconds? I'll give you a hint. I'll tell you the answer. You have a guess? 5 seconds. So in person, first impression, people are going to look at you and people are going to like the words out of your mouth in 5 seconds. Absolutely. When you're not in person, you're over the phone. You have a little bit longer, but not much. You have 15. So you got, that was your second guess? All right. Yep. So we have 15 seconds to capture someone's attention and get them talking. Okay. So we're like, oh my God, no, now the first trick is we got to get these people on the phone, right? Or responding back to a text, which by the way, a text, your only purpose of texting is to get a time to call them. Okay. It's all about when can we talk? So if we have 15 seconds to get a person talking, we need to control that 15 seconds. So I'm going to share with you a way that we lose control. This is what many agents do that loses our control and gives us negative results. Okay. And it sounds something like this. Hey, Mike, this is Alana with Keller Williams Legacy. I'm a local real estate agent. Hey, how are you today? Okay, most people do not say they're doing good, but Mike was nice in playing this, so great job. Right. Nope, not at all. So here's the thing. If I ask him how he's doing, by asking that question right then, I'm now giving control of the conversation over to that stranger, which means we have a 50-50 chance of ever getting back control or even moving that conversation forward. So instead, we want to thank them, right? It's kind of like when you hold the door open for strangers going into like a store and all these people start walking through and nobody thanks you. We're not holding the door for people to thank us, but it feels nice when they do, right? So it sounds something like this. Hey, Mike, it's Alana here with Keller Williams Legacy. Thanks so much for taking my call. I'm a local real estate agent near you. Okay, I thank you. Then we're going to reference the source. So it's your introduction, which is your name, their name, or their name, your name. It doesn't matter. Thank you for taking my call. Just thank them, right? Now, if it is an online lead, meaning if, let's say, a lead gets sent over to you, okay, you could thank them for looking at homes online as well. So you can put the thank you in a few different spots. I'll share with you what that sounds like in just a second. We want to then reference the source. Referencing the source is, how did you get their information? Now, we don't want specifics. We want to be very general. So here's what I mean by that. Hey, thanks for taking my call. I see that you were looking at homes online. That's really exciting. Now, homes online could be ad campaigns, could be Zillow, could be Opcity, could be any sort of homes online at all. Or it could be, hey, thanks for taking my call. I see that your home was on the market at one point in time. That's an expired. We don't use the word expired. That's a real estate term. Hey, I see that your home was on the market at one point in time. Right? Let's say it's a referral. So let's say that somebody's like, oh my God, yeah, call my coworker, Chris. I think he might want to buy a house. So be, hey, Chris, this is Alana with Keller Williams Legacy. Thanks so much for taking my call. Listen, I received your name from Angie. She mentioned that you may have an interest in looking at homes or buying a home at some point in time. We're referencing the source. Okay. Then we're going to ask, and now this is the magic. Here's the magic. So if you're writing notes, hopefully you are, I want you to star this, circle it, bold it, highlight it, okay, smiley face it. You're going to ask an open-ended question. Now there's a difference. There's close-ended and open-ended. Who knows the difference? Who wants to take a guess? Open and closed. Anybody on Zoom? Got silence here a little bit. All right. A close-ended is where they can answer with a yes or no. Hey, thanks very much for taking my call. I see that at one point your home was on the market. Are you still looking to sell? No. Okay, thank you, bye. Close-ended ends our call. Hey, see that you were looking at homes online. That's exciting. Are you interested in buying a house this year? No. Click. Okay. Open-ended is where we ask a question where they cannot use an answer with yes or no. Okay. Now, there's many variations of this. I'll give you a few. Hey, I see that you were, thanks for taking my call. So you were looking at some homes online. That's really exciting. What has you thinking about making a move? Open-ended. Right? Wow, I see that at one point your home was on the market. When you do look to sell in the future, where are you moving to? They can't say yes or no. The trick to the open-ended question, again, is to get them talking. Okay. A few other examples. Wow, moving's a lot of hard work. We'll put that on your radar. That's exciting. So your opener, to recap, I'm going to move on to the next step. Your opener is 15 seconds. So for those of you attending this, for those of you watching this recording, what I recommend doing is actually typing out your opener. And wherever you are making your calls, put it in front of you. And then use your little stopwatch on your phone and practice it. So, Mike, do you have your phone with you? Can you put your stopwatch on, but don't start it yet? Okay. So I'm going to use a online lead as my example right now, but again, anything works here. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me when to start. And right after I ask the open-ended, I want you to stop it. Okay. Tell me when to start. Hey, is this Mike? Hey, Mike, this is Alana. I'm a local real estate agent near you. Thank you so much for taking my call. I see that you were looking at homes online. That's exciting. What has you thinking about making a move? 12.8 seconds. That's how you practice it. You type it out, you put on your stopwatch, and you say it, and you say it, and you say it, and you say it until you get it 15 seconds or less. That's the magic. Okay. All right. Any questions on opener? We're going to move into the next phase of the psychology behind the yes, the language patterns. Okay. By the way, if you're online and you're at work tuning in and you have questions, but you can't come off of mute, put it in the chat box. I will be checking that. I want you to ask and get, whatever you're asking, I'm sure somebody else is thinking as well. By the way, really quick regarding the opener, the only time you would say, how are you today, is if it's a friend or family member, right? If I'm calling a friend, I'm gonna be like, hey, how are you, right? Or if it's someone you've had conversations with and you're following up, right? So let's say we've had a great conversation. I found out that you're looking to sell your house and buy a new house after your kids graduate next June, and I'm following up with you every single month, which is what you're supposed to be doing, between now and next June. So I'm calling you again November, I'm calling you December, I'm calling you January. I will start, because again, now we're forming a relationship. Now the future calls, I can be like, hey, Mike, hey, thanks so much for taking my call. Listen, it's been a while. We talked last month. I'm just following up with you. First of all, how have you been? How are you doing, right? That's where you can ask them how they're doing. You just don't want to do it in the first call. All right. So let's talk about a basic order of the conversation. If we break down the conversation into, I'm actually going to break it down into 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first step is your opener. Openers to get them talking. Asking an open-ended question they cannot answer yes or no to, so they talk. The basic order of a conversation. Kind of the flow of from start to finish. I would tell you when you master language patterns, when you master the language of sales, the perfect conversation is about 12 minutes from start to finish. 12 minutes from start to finish to get them from hello to that next step. So step 1 is that opener, get them talking. Step 2 is digging for their motivation, the why. Why are they buying? Why are they selling? Why is that important to them? Right? Now I'm going to go into that in a little bit of detail in just a few minutes. The next one is pre-qualified. So 1, opener. 2, dig for motivation. 3, pre-qualify. Pre-qualify is, do they currently rent or own? Do they have to sell in order to buy? Pre-qualify doesn't just mean lender. Pre-qualify is, oh, they're renting and they want to buy. Will they need to talk to a lender? Okay. Again, if they're selling in order to buy, do they need to sell in order to buy? How much do they owe in their house? What's left, right? Will they also need lending? So just finding out logistics there. So 1, opener. 2, motivation. 3, pre-qualify. 4, your next step is, or the next step is, or our next step is. It's taking them to the next step. There's the thing, we don't know what the next step is until we have the conversation. The next step, if this person is looking to sell after the kids graduate in June, your next step is just simply going to say, wonderful, I'm going to keep in touch with you between now and then. Your next step is follow-up, is nurturing them. If it's a renter looking to buy and they need to find out what their buying power is, that next step is connecting with the lender that day. If it is a person who needs to sell their house, yeah, they need to buy, but let's focus on selling. The next step is setting the appointment to go out and meet with them. So the next step depends on the conversation. And then finally, assigning a deadline. So a deadline could be, hey, I'm going to keep in touch with you between now and next June to be here for when you're ready to help. I'm assigning a deadline about me keeping in touch. Deadline could be, hey, I'm going to text to introduce you to one of our preferred lenders, Dan. So he is going to reach out to you today between the hours of 4 and 7 tonight for a quick 15-minute call for that, just to see what your buying power is, see where you start. Okay, that's assigning a deadline. Right? I'm so excited to help you see what your home is worth in today's market and share with you how I market homes to get them sold. I will be out tomorrow at 5:30 because you said you get home at 5 to meet with you and your partner. Okay, that's assigning a deadline. It's assigning the appointment. Okay, see what that deadline means. There's a time frame behind it. Okay, so the conversation flows in those 5 steps. What I want to focus on right now is I want to take the opener to motivation. This is where, okay, this is actually where most agents talk themselves out of the step. Here's what I mean by that. We're making calls, we're sending text messages, nobody's answering. It's a numbers game, right? And we're going through the motions, we're getting bored with routine to be successful. To be successful, we have to get bored with a routine. Well, what happens is we all of a sudden get that person on the phone and we get excited. We're like, oh my God, there's a live person on my phone, or they'll text me back and we rush it. We're like, oh my God, great. You want to buy a house? You want something bigger? You want something in the city? Oh my God, great. I'm going to do a search for you. Let's get you in touch with a lender. Let's take these steps. What the hell search are you doing? We don't know what they're looking for. We don't know why it's important. So we need to spend the magical 3 minutes, tapping into motivation. So here's what that sounds like. All right. So I'm actually going to come closer to you so they can hear you. Is that cool? Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm just moving my. All right. I'm going to come on over here. Hi. Can you be the buyer?
I would love to.
All right. Come on in, Angie. All right. All righty. So Mike here is going to play the part of a buyer. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the open-ended question to spend maximum 3 minutes on motivation. Okay. 15 seconds opener, max 3 minutes motivation. Now, here's the thing. Take that 3 minutes with a grain of salt. You might have someone who's really tight-lipped and they're just giving you little one-word answers. So your motivational digging might take all of 1.5 minutes because you're playing like bigger, great. How many bedrooms? Great. What does this look like? What is that? You're playing back and forth. I call it ping pong. Or you might have a talker. Oh my God. Yeah. I really can't wait to get that bigger kitchen because my mom and my grandma and my sister, my uncle, and my cousin. Okay. Now you do still need to control that person because we do not have an hour in our schedules to spend time with that person. Okay. So we do need to move that person forward. So kind of playing in between. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start from the beginning. You ready for it? And then For those on Zoom, I'm taking notes. After this, I'm going to share my screen with people in the room to show you how I take notes. The way I'm going to take notes right now is I'm literally numbering my paper 1, 2, and 3 because I want to get 3 things from this person. So it's my visual to know I need to get 3 things from them. Okay. So bring.
Hello?
Hey, is this Mike?
Yes, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike. This is Alana. I'm a local real estate agent with Keller Williams Legacy. Thank you so much for taking my call. I see that you were looking at homes online. That's exciting. What has you thinking about moving?
Oh, well, just kind of renting right now. So I'm kind of looking to, have my own place, and looking just to kind of get out of the area I'm in and ready to kind of set into like my final home,
Oh, so I hear own place, get out of area. Okay. Are you renting with other people or?
I mean, just making this up.
Yep.
Just my,
put on your actor's hat.
Yeah. Just me, my wife, and my son.
Okay.
We're looking to get move out and get better schools and stuff. So
got
he's
it.
still young, so we're looking.
Okay. How old's your son?
He's 6.
Oh wow. Okay. So getting out of renting into your own place with your wife and son, who's 6. Better schools. Okay. When are you hoping to be in that better school district by?
Well, right now, we have a deadline sort of right now as far as like we're able to get because I was in the military, so I'm able to get a VA loan, and with the help of the VA right now at the moment, we are able to get out by January, February latest time frame.
Okay.
That's kind of what our time is.
Okay, excellent. So someone in the new year, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And tell me, what else is really important to you about getting out of renting and into your own place?
Well, a great neighborhood for one. I'm in a nice neighborhood now, but I just with the house, I want to have my neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but a great neighborhood, especially my son, so we can, play around. Another great thing is just, another thing, I do have family coming over all the time, so I definitely want, right now we don't have enough bedrooms. I definitely want something, with a little bit more bedrooms, a little bit more space than what I have.
What's your space look like now versus what you want it to look like?
Right now, just, the biggest thing right now is, I want to put in, a nice ping pong. I just want to have like, my own sort of, if I want to call it man cave, don't really have that at the moment, but it's something that just, again, bigger space.
Got it. Man cave, more bedrooms. How many bedrooms?
I'm looking at like 5.
5. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to stop it there. So on the 3 lines, the very first line says renting dash, own place, get out of area, wife and son. The second line says better schools. Now, there's a magical question that makes getting the third line super easy. And by the way, when you ask this question, this is the greatest question you could ever ask for every buyer and seller, because it really is the greatest. No, seriously. This has been proven by over 3,000 agents, by the way. Legit. I'm not making that number up. I can actually prove that. So this question, what it does is it gets a person thinking deeper automatically, psychology, and most of the time gives you something that's the most important to them. So typically the person you're talking to has this wall up, they don't know you, so they're giving very surface level answers. Oh, I want my own place, I'm getting out of the area. It's very surface level. That's awesome. Why? Oh, better schools. Okay, better schools, that's important, which is why I went to like when, right? Then when you ask them, well, let me ask you, what else? That's the question. What else? Now you can ask this 2 ways. You can say, what else is important to you in your new place? Or what else is important to you about, getting out of renting and buying? What else is important to you about getting your home sold and getting into a new place or moving? So anything with the words, what else? What else is yep. What else is important? What you put on the end depends on what the person says. Right? Now, when I asked what else, you went into detail. Great neighborhood, some playing outside, family over all the time, not enough space, right? So there's two pain points that this buyer said. One pain point is better schools. That's a pain point. When a person who has kids says better schools, it means that they don't like the schools. Second pain point is not enough space. So it sounds like there's some cramping feeling happening when family's coming over, right? So space and schools are the two pain points. Everybody understand? Like, does that make sense? Okay. So we took the opener, we morphed it into now digging for motivation. Okay. Now we can go into, now here's where I probably would, if I don't have enough criteria, here's where I probably would just play a little back and forth on criteria. This is a checklist. This, you can actually use that, that buyer questionnaire that we provide you guys with. And this is where you can literally, oh my God, can you close that? Thank you. Let's just keep that closed daily. So this is where, you want to go into criteria just to get the specifics. So this is where I would say, all right, so first of all, I'm really looking forward to helping you. And I would have found out your wife's name and son's name and all of that. I'm really looking forward to helping you and your wife and your son get into this better neighborhood, better schools, bigger space, and just an area where you feel like you can, let them run outside and play and have a good time. Right? Play some basketball, because I know you mentioned that. Just pretending that, right? So let me get some more criteria of what that looks like. You mentioned 5 bedrooms, right? And this is where you just run through the checklist. How many bathrooms? What else are you looking for? Is it garage important? You mentioned neighborhoods. What location? Do you have schools in mind? Now, here's the thing. If they say to you, well, what schools do you think? You are not allowed to say schools. We cannot tell them schools. That's against Maryland Commission, or that's against ethics. We can get in serious trouble and fines as an agent. But if they say schools, we can do searches based on schools. So if he's like, oh, I want to be in like somewhere in Howard County with Howard, Ellicott Mills and blah, 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 in these schools. Okay, so what I heard you say are these 4 schools. I can repeat them back and I can do searches. If he's like, well, I don't really know, I'm just, I'm new to the area. I don't really know what best schools are. Can you advise me? You know what? Great question. As a real estate agent in the state of Maryland, we cannot advise schools. We're not allowed as agents. However, what I recommend doing is going to greatschools.org, doing some searching around the areas that you're thinking about to make a list, and then we can do searches around those. But again, here's now where we're playing checklist. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Is a garage important? Talk to me about a yard. Do you care if it has a backyard, a front yard? Are you open to either? Right? Is 5 bedrooms a must, or is a must have or a nice to have? Right. Okay, so that means any 4 bedrooms, we're not going to see them, because you said 5 is a must have, right? So this is where we're just narrowing down the specifics. Anything else very specific you want in the house? Okay, you want a finished basement. If it's partially finished, is that okay? Are you okay with a little bit of work or turnkey? Right, so we're going down a checklist. Okay. Now, we take them to the next step in the conversation, which is that pre-qualification. Yes, Angie.
So are you asking at this point kind of their criteria on the checklist to keep them on the phone longer and form a relationship, or are you asking it because you want to do like a search, an auto search to send them later that's more complete to what they need?
So that's actually the perfect question you can ask. Both. The first primary reason I'm asking these questions about the criteria is I can't create a search without it.
Right.
right? So first reason actually is because I built a little relationship with the motivation.
Right.
I need specifics now so I can set up a search. I can start looking.
But at this point, you haven't told them, I'm gonna do an auto search for you, and you'll be getting listings based on your criteria.
I have not, but I'm about to.
Okay.
Yep, I'm about to.
Sorry.
No, that's good, right? So now here's the thing. In asking these questions, I'm also listening, right? So Angie was asking just now, am I asking the criteria to build a stronger relationship, or am I asking criteria and specifics to be able to do a customizable search? The answer to that is both. The first reason I'm asking is I want to be able to move this person forward to either to a lender and to also me doing work for him and doing a search today on Bright MLS to start sending him some things for him and his wife to look at, right? Now, I'll add a third part to that, and kind of goes along with the relationship. I'm also in the relationship part, I'm listening for tonality. Here's what I mean by that. In this conversation, I'm going to be like, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, garage? Do you have schools in mind? Yard, front yard, backyard? What else is important? Talk to me about, is basement? Do you care if it's finished, unfinished? Are you open to that? Somewhere in there, his tonality is going to change. Now, this is where listening, we can't think about our next question, which is why having that cheat sheet in front of you when you ask criteria is important. So now we don't have to think about our next question. We can actually listen, because I want to listen for when Mike says, oh yeah, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, we prefer garage, really need that backyard. Hear the difference? So I'm going to hear him say, ooh, really need that backyard. And I'm going to say, wow, okay, I just heard the emphasis on really need there. I'm going to tell him that I heard that. Now, I know you mentioned for your son to run outside and play. Anything else specific about that backyard that's really important to you? Oh, we want to entertain, or we want to build a fence because we have a dog, right? We need flat ground. Like, I want to know why he just emphasized that. That's the relationship part. The listening to respond back to why he just said that. If someone's like, yeah, I really want A, B, C, oh my God, and a bigger kitchen. Wow, okay, so I just heard that bigger kitchen sounds super important to you. Do you like to cook? Do you like to bake? Like, what's happening in the kitchen? What's your kitchen like now? Right? Are you hosting Thanksgiving? What's happening? Right? So that's where the relationship can get stronger. Does that help? Does that answer? Okay. All right. Now we're going to summarize to move to that next step. Okay. Summarization is literally just repeating back their words. Wow. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is, right, you and the family are excited to get out of renting into your own place, something bigger with more bedrooms because you're feeling a little cramped, especially because you have a lot of family coming over, better schools, better neighborhood, especially for your son, right? So you can have him go outside and play and feel safe. Then if there's anything else that I heard, right? And that backyard that you can be able to fence in for the dog. Okay, did I miss anything? They usually say no at that point. Right, you're just repeating back the specifics. You don't have to say, if they say like 20 things, you don't have to say all 20, just narrow it down to a few. Okay. Well, I'm excited to help you and your wife for when you're ready. That takes the pressure off. I'm excited to help you and your wife for when you're ready. Notice how I just took the pressure off? The next step is, here's your transition. Now, what's the next step in this scenario?
Get him approved.
Get him approved. Because here's the thing, we can go into Bright MLS, and by the way, in here in the criteria, one of the questions it's going to ask him is, do you have a price point in mind for your home, or a price point you want to stay in for your monthly payments? So we can at least start a customizable search based on that, but we truly don't know until they get pre-approved. We can start something to start sending him things to kind of pique their interest, right? But here's what I'm going to say. Okay. You mentioned staying in the price point of not sure what the price of the house needs to be, but staying in that rental. You said you're paying $1,500 for rent, so staying somewhere around $1,500 to $1,800 a month. Okay. So here's the next step. On my end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating a customizable search for you and your wife. It's going to email you over some things for you to start looking at and narrowing down and letting me know what you like. And let me ask you, are you going to need, never assume, will you need financing for this purchase? Okay. I don't like to assume things. That's why I ask. I will say that to a person, right? Well, what I'd also like to do is connect you with one of our preferred lenders. His name is Dan. Okay. What I'm going to do right after this call, if you're okay with it, is I'm actually going to text and introduce the two of you through text. And then are you and Lily, oh, I like that name. Are you and Lily available between, you mentioned Lily doesn't get home till 5. Are you and Lily available sometime between 5 and 7 tonight for Dan to give you a quick call? Now, let me just put your mind at ease. Doesn't mean you're buying a house tomorrow. It just shows you where you start. It just gives you information on where to start pre-approval wise. And it's really fast. It's like 15, 20 minutes. So we can really see what's out there and start really, really looking for homes that match your family's needs. Are you available to take Dan's call between 5 and 7 tonight? See how I'm setting that commitment? And I'm going to text you after this to introduce you to Dan on text. Are you okay with that? They'll say yes. It's rare that they say no. They might say, well, I really want to use my bank. I go to Wells Fargo. Okay. Now, as an agent, I need to, okay. All right. Oh, no, you know what? That's great. You can talk to your bank. And in the state of, it's very important to also have multiple options, kind of like doctor's office, right? Doesn't hurt to have multiple options. Local lenders will almost always provide you with better rates and better options than a bank does. So here's what I'd like to do. If you can talk to your bank between today and tomorrow, banks have different hours than real estate agents. And I'm still going to connect you with Dan today. Notice how I'm not asking for permission. I'm not saying, will you talk to Dan? Can you talk to Dan? I'm saying, and I'm going to connect you with Dan today to have that second opinion. Right? Just more information, more knowledge for you. And by the way, Dan works real estate hours, meaning 7 days a week, like I do. Okay. Now, one of the questions asked here in the chat was a great question. Where do I get them to agree to an exclusive agent agreement? Don't bring that up just yet. Unless this is your best friend or like a relative that you know they're going to use you and it's like a no-brainer that you can be like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to send you over the agreement. Just allows me to work on your behalf. Go ahead and sign that. If this is somebody you are not related to, and it was not said, you are my agent, Angie, what do I need to sign? Don't bring it up yet. They haven't talked to a lender yet. You haven't shown them houses. You haven't created a customizable search. There's nothing happening here. An agreement will scare them away. They will become ghost and they will hire another agent. Almost always. Because they think signing something is a contract and they're buying a house tomorrow. My personal, now here's the thing, there's 2 best practices for agreements. One is after the lender, after you send the customizable search, I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow. Timeliness is so important. I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow to see what your conversation was like with Dan, to see if you and Lily had time to look at some of those homes to really narrow it down, and hopefully maybe be able to set up a showing for this week for us to go see. And then tomorrow on that conversation, you have the option of doing one of 2 things. You as an agent decide. Option A is Tomorrow we connect, we set up a showing. I then tell you, great, I'm now going to send over the buyer agreement, which, by the way, what that does is allow me to protect you, negotiate on your behalf, and work for you. Without it, you are represented by the seller, which has the seller's interest at heart. Yep. The buyer agreement. Yep, I'm going to send you the buyer agreement, which was created by Maryland Commission to protect you as the buyer, allow me to negotiate on your behalf, to truly work for you. Okay. Or option B. Now, option B is my personal favorite. Many agents disagree with me, but the other half of the agents agree with me. That's why there's two options. So you can take it or leave it. I completely fill out the buyer agency agreement and bring it with me to that first showing. And then when we walk into that first showing, I will hand them the printout of the MLS for that showing. Before they start walking around the house, I'll say, great, before you tour the house, really quickly, this is the buyer agency agreement. I say the same words. This will protect you, allow me to negotiate for you. It allows me to work for you. Without this, a buyer has no representation. You're technically represented by the seller in a way, all right? And here's a pen, sign here. By the way, I am paid by the seller. Now, if you add admin fees, is where you would talk about that, right? So they sign it at that first showing. That's what I personally do for anybody who I don't know personally, because I want that face-to-face, right? I want to see your eyes. Because go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's a lot harder to say no to you in person.
It is a lot, the psychology of the yes, that is today's class. It is a lot harder to say no in person.
Now, question. It's not impossible. So when they do say no, I don't want to sign it at this moment, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Just that's something that maybe something they'd say like that.
So
I might would say like, oh well,
if
I don't want to sign it just yet right now.
If somebody says no, it's for one of three reasons. Either one, we didn't explain it properly. We made it about us, not them. Right? We kind of talked more about it than it needs to. Right? We're like, this is a contract that makes sure I get paid as your agent. If we start making it about us, yeah, they're not going to sign it. So they're either not signing it because we didn't explain it right, or they're an investor. Investors won't sign them. Investors use the understanding whom agents represent. Till you help an investor multiple times and they lock you in, then maybe they will sign it. But typically investors won't sign a buyer agency agreement. That's kind of a nationwide thing. Or there's actually two other reasons. One, they're from New York. New York doesn't have this. New York actually does not have this. Yep. So New Yorkers, if they've bought before, they do not understand why this is put in place and what they're signing. So they're probably going to have a bunch of other questions. So you just need to sit there and be like, okay, well, let me ask you, I understand you're coming from New York. They don't have this. This is why Maryland put this in place. It became required by the Maryland Commission as of 2018, October 1st, 2018, to protect buyers, because prior to October 2018, every buyer was unprotected, right? And agents weren't allowed to truly work for them. Or they're from another country. Other countries don't have these as well, right? So a lot of times it's just, if a person's not signing this, if it's an investor, don't even bring, you can try it. But again, most investors won't even sign it. We're just talking about retail sales right now. So if a residential buyer is looking to buy a house and they're not signing this at that first showing, ask them why. Ask them why. It's probably something we didn't, there's probably not a lack of understanding there. Okay. And you know what, Angie, thank you. So Angie said, I don't want to sign anything until I find something I want. So my response back to that is going to be like, Angie, first of all, thanks for sharing that with me. Welcome it in. Now, here's the thing. This buyer agency agreement, it's not a contract, it's an agreement, was put in place in 2018 by the Maryland Real Estate Commission to protect buyers. Because here's what happens. If you walk through this house right now and the next house and the next house we see, and you want to get that offer and we need to move quickly in this market so we don't hopefully lose it, right? So to be able to do that, this agreement allows me to quickly call that listing agent, see if there's multiple offers, see what's happening, do some pricing analysis to provide you with education on what's happening in this market, to provide you with what are some ideal situations for, be able to answer your questions on what should I offer. Without this, I can't answer those questions because in theory, I now work for the seller. If an agent tells you otherwise, they're not compliant with the Maryland Commission, and that agent's not doing what's best for you. Now, here's the great thing, Angie. Signing this does not mean you're buying this house today. Signing this also doesn't mean that, hey, listen, if I'm not doing my job, see this little spot right here says can terminate with 1 day written notice? Okay, great, fire me. I hope you tell me why you're firing me so I can improve, right? This just simply protects you. That's all this does. You're not paying me money today, right? This just protects you.
You're just making me cringe because of things that I've done wrong.
And that's how we learn, right? This is why we go to these. This is why we practice, right? We always have to do things wrong to do things right. Right? And that's okay. And here's the great thing is anybody who we might have lost, if they haven't signed with somebody else, can we get them back?
Yes.
Right? Can we get them back?
Sorry, just interjecting real quickly. I was for months hitting on this, but calling this investor who wanted to get an investment property. Didn't get in touch with him at all over the summer. I'm back. I called him just because of my calling, people, you're ready to buy an investment property. So I said, but I think I saved it. I said, oh, okay, you're working on it as a contractor. I said, can I just do I'll do a market analysis and I'll tell you how much will be ready to be worth, that you'll be able to put it on the market. And maybe I'll list it for you and sell it for you when it's all ready. So
fantastic.
Bring in a analysis.
Oh, I love how you turn that around.
Yeah.
That perfect. I'd much rather have that listing than anything else. Yeah, do that today because we are only as good as our word, right? And the second we lose that, somebody else will step in. All right, we're out of time. So to recap, you have 15 seconds for your opener to get the person talking. You then get them talking and you have a conversation. The psychology behind the yes is just having a conversation. Let me listen to respond, right? As opposed to thinking about my next question. We then, depending on the conversation, move them to whatever that next step is. In this scenario, it was the lender. But in other scenarios, it could be a follow-up. It could be just simply creating a customizable search to start them with that. It could be setting a buyer consultation to sit down at a coffee shop with this person and their significant other. Could be setting the listing appointment, right? So taking them to whatever that next step is. But again, you are their map. You are their GPS. You are not asking them, hey, do you want to get off of this exit up here on the right? Or would you rather go 10 miles out of your way? You're saying, take this right exit. And at the light, make a left. See a difference? All right. What I would love all of you to practice is your opener. Typing that out, putting on your stopwatch, and making sure it's less than 15 seconds to get to that open-ended question. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow, 11 o'clock is Melissa is walking through database tactics. All right.